So Tumi, what should I do when I find myself doubting in God?
That's a good question. Let's talk about that.
I doubt it.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
So there are many reasons that we could fall into doubt or doubting God.
That's true.
Yeah. Like, for one, you can doubt his existence.
Yeah,
Like, is he even real?
that's a big doubt for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, wondering whether or not God is even real, whether he's out there. So that's definitely one. I think another one is you can kind of, if you don't find yourself doubting his existence, you know he exists, but you're doubting his goodness.
Yeah, like is he really as good as they say?
Yeah, can it be true? Is he that good? That can be an area of doubt, I guess, too.
True, man. And I think another one is you can doubt his provision. Like, you can really
Also
doubt
true.
that he's going to come through for you as the good father.
Maybe you find yourself like in a tough situation, financially, emotionally, spiritually, just doubting whether or not God is going to come through for you. That brings about a lot of doubt. But I think to help us in our conversation about how do I go about my faith in Christianity when I find myself doubting in God, let's invite our good friend De Villiers.
Well, yeah, I think let's get started and actually ask this question: why do people find themselves doubting in God?
It's a good question.
I think a lot of our doubt in God comes from unanswered questions.
That's true.
Yeah, that's really true. Like, maybe this is where science and religion come butt heads here.
You know, it appears that they're at odds with one another, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think the question of creation, for example, like, was it really 7 days?
Yeah.
Or like, how did Noah even get all those animals into that ark?
Yeah.
Yo, but just even questioning miracles. Like, you know, how did miracles even happen? Raising people from the dead, walking on water. It's
That's
like there are
crazy.
just so many things in our faith. You know, Jesus rising
from the dead. Like, dude,
That's literally what it's all about.
There are just so many things in our faith that we just necessarily don't have all the answers to, other than it's God who did that. You know, it's supernatural. So that's definitely one reason why people doubt, I think.
that is solidly.
And maybe another reason why people doubt in God is unfair situations.
That is such a good one. I mean, I've struggled with that. If you look at the world, let's be honest, it looks like things are just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
I mean, injustices, you know, sex trafficking and
it's ridiculous.
global warming, poverty,
Crime,
like people dying of hunger. It literally looks like everything is just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
And life seems really unfair.
Yeah, and it makes it hard to believe that there's a good God out there who really wants the best for everything.
Yeah, it's really tough if you're so like bombarded with just the suffering of people out there. It's really hard to imagine sometimes that at the behind all that suffering, injustice, all the wrong in the world, that there can be a good, powerful God behind all that. Definitely a reason why people
Big
find
question
themselves
mark.
doubting. Oh, absolutely.
I think the one that I know best, I think it links to what you just said, but the last one is personal hurt.
Oof, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, we have a lot of experience just in church with that as well, and even outside of church, people just doubting God.
Yeah, because you find yourself in a situation where there's pain or grief or just anything.
Like disillusionment.
I mean, like I've had conversations with people where they go, you know, how could God allow this in my life? You know, some disease, some death of someone really close, you know. So this is kind of where I think the unfair situation is no longer out there, but it's personal.
It
like,
hits home.
It's unfair to me, you know, and then you start wondering, you know, if my life is so bad, or if I've been dealt such a bad hand. How could God be good, you know, on the other side of that? Definitely a big reason why people find themselves doubting.
That's
true.
tough.
So those are some of the reasons people find themselves often doubting in God. So now the question, how do I go about navigating when I doubt in God's existence, his goodness, his provision? And I think kind of the first tip I would want to throw out there is that faith and belief are actually two separate things. Okay, because it is so possible to have excellent, accurate, 100% true theology, but have zero faith. Okay, maybe just to illustrate that, I believe that chairs are for sitting. Everyone knows that, right? Chairs are not for throwing or dancing on, unless you're mad or really happy, I guess. But I believe chairs are for sitting. But until the moment where I actually sit down on the chair, that's only when I'm exercising faith.
True.
So faith and belief, two different things. And I mean, there's a scripture reference that actually says even demons
Even the
believe
demons believe
that Jesus is the Son of God. I mean, that's a fact. That is true. Even. That's not a word.
Even
demons believe that Jesus is the Son of God, but they have zero faith in him when it comes to relationship.
Yeah.
So faith and belief, two different things.
Two different things. I mean, even in the Bible, there's a story of Thomas.
Poor Thomas.
Poor Thomas. Like, I think to get that title that he gets, Doubting Thomas.
Imagine going down in history,
like, man,
forever as Doubting Thomas.
Like this, it's also the most famous book of all time. Like, everyone will know.
Literally
everyone will know.
That must. I mean, you would want to go down in history as Alexander the Great,
right?
Or like Solomon the Wise. I mean, who wants to go down forever for all eternity as
Thomas the Doubter.
Doubting Thomas. Poor guy had a bad hand. Doubting
shame,
him
man.
as well.
Dude. But I think even in his story, like, and he got the title Doubting Thomas, and he still went down as someone who had massive faith. I mean, Jesus still picked him knowing that he'd be the guy to doubt him at the end of the day.
That's true.
He still picked him as one of his closest disciples.
That's actually very valuable, even though Jesus knew he's going to be the one asking questions just a little bit later.
Yeah.
He didn't shun him away.
No.
We're going to reference Thomas a little bit later as well. But I mean, it's so crazy to think that Thomas as well, even though he went down in history as the one who doubts, right? He actually ended up dying for his faith.
Yeah.
He was martyred to death, killed for believing in Jesus.
And that's super crazy. And he just had this one moment of doubt, and he still grew in his faith. He didn't shy away from it. And I think we're going to touch on that later, is what we do with our doubts.
So let's move on to the, okay, great. So now I'm doubting. I find myself in a space where I doubt in God.
Yeah.
Now what?
I think,
what do I do?
I know. And I know this answer is the most annoying answer you'll ever hear, is just pray about it. Take it to God, right?
Believe more.
Have
more faith.
Have more faith. When I hear that, I'm just like, okay, come here. Let me just
shut up.
let me just, But I think that's the truth here, is that God is never distant. So,
that's very true. He doesn't shun away people that doubt.
No, not at all. And I think if you look at the story of Thomas, when Thomas was doubting, he said, and not until I see the holes in his hands and I get to put my hand in his side, that I'll believe that he's risen. And Jesus meets him at that place, in that space of doubt.
That's good.
So I think when you're doubting,
just remember God isn't distant. And I mean, we see that all throughout the New Testament. Jesus spending time with people that ask questions.
Yeah.
I think about John chapter 3, where he's having a conversation with a man named Nicodemus.
Oh, yeah.
Super clever guy, really educated. And he's asking questions like, what must I do to be born again? You know, how do I go about this eternity thing? And Jesus doesn't go, man, just stop doubting. Just believe.
Just believe. I'm right here, man.
He actually engages with him. He invites him close into a conversation. The woman at the well, the exact same story.
Yeah.
She starts asking questions about, how she's supposed to inherit this eternal life-giving water. What must she do? And Jesus doesn't go, no, man.
Just believe.
Just believe.
Dang it, woman.
No, he draws her close again into a conversation, and he reveals more of himself to her. So I think that's such a cool encouragement just to remember. The first thing when it comes to doubt is that.
Yeah, man. And I'm also reminded of the story Paul, for example. He did not believe.
Obviously,
that guy, he was really
big
open
doubter.
about it. So open about it.
He doubted so much, he was like, I'm a kill Christian. That's how much I doubt.
Yeah. And God met him there as well.
Definitely.
And he's written most of the New Testament. Yes. So I think even though you have moments of doubt, it doesn't take away anything away from you. So that's really cool.
Absolutely. And I think now that we're referring to all the stories like Paul and Thomas and all those kind of guys, I think it's important to remember that if I find myself doubting, that's okay, firstly, because God doesn't distance himself from us.
Yeah.
But secondly, you'll see all throughout history, the greatest doubters often become the greatest kind of faith evangelists out there, sharing the gospel passionately. Yeah. And again, if you look at Paul and Thomas and even famous people in history, people that were extreme doubters at one moment, and then once they kind of meet Jesus along the road, something changes in them and they become like these advocates for Christ. So I think that's also just a cool encouragement to remember that it's possible for the greatest doubters in history to become the greatest advocates for faith if you navigate it.
If you navigate it right. I think that just goes to show that doubt doesn't disqualify you from being this massive giant in faith. I think just really take it to God, man. It really doesn't take anything away from you when you doubt. When you navigate it right and you navigate it well, you get to have those stories like Thomas and Paul and all these guys. I mean, even the woman at the well became a massive evangelist because of that
her
moment.
A whole town got saved.
Like imagine Bloemfontein getting saved because of your one moment of doubt.
And just like on the thought of doubt doesn't disqualify us. I mean, if you think about any other normal relationship that you're in, you know, like whether it's romantic or friendship or whatever the case may be, but as soon as there are certain uncertainties between us or, you know, doubts between us, whether or not is this working, you know, is it not working? We don't just like go, oh, well, it's done, it's over.
Or I don't keep it to myself and I'm like, oh, I hope she like realizes or confirms it or affirms it.
Any healthy relationship where it's mutual, you know, and both parties are equally invested into that relationship. If it's a healthy relationship, you'll always feel at liberty to bring up when you doubt. You know, to go, listen, I'm unsure. Like I'm married, for example, and the minute things are like a little bit off or weird between myself and my husband, we don't just like stop being married. You know, we don't call it a day and we're like, well, this was fun, but I have some doubts, so cheers, bye. No, because we love each other, we actually go, listen, I need to talk to you. I need to figure this out. So any healthy relationship won't feel disqualified when there are doubts. Instead, they'll kind of bring it up, you know, and work through it. And that actually leads me to our last, that's actually the fourth point, is make sure that when you doubt, you work through it. Don't try to hide it. You know, don't try to, because we often make it less as well. Like behind the scenes, I'm having this major existential crisis on whether or not God is even real. Can I trust him? And because of the whole just believe more vibe out there sometimes, we feel hesitant to bring it up and work through it.
Or you feel like you need to believe through it and power through it. And
but again, if you look at, let's say, the life of Thomas, you know, doubting Thomas, the one who went down in history like that poor guy. But I mean, he said he won't believe that Jesus rose from the dead unless he can actually see the holes, feel the wounds, you know, be very physically aware of Jesus. And he walked through that thing up until the point where Jesus actually met him and said, Thomas, man, I know you're doubting. Look at the scars. Put your hand in my side where I still have that wound. Like, walk through that doubt. Jacob in the Old Testament, for example, he wrestles with God. Can you imagine?
Wrestling with God.
You'll lose.
But, he broke his hip.
Yeah, he did lose forever, pretty much. But I mean, he didn't let go of God until God met him in that moment of uncertainty or pain or whatever the case may be. So don't be afraid to work through your doubt personally. Personally is definitely one avenue. So make sure you're constantly just bringing yourself to Jesus, going in the scriptures, praying, you know, spending time with God, asking him to reveal more of himself to you. But then secondly, make sure you're walking through your doubt corporately as well. So that's the whole don't do it alone part. Make sure you have good, solid, like Christian friends around you.
Community around you.
Community, because that's also one of the major benefits for community, right? Is they help you navigate this. So that's pretty much it. So remember, God isn't distant.
Nope.
You know, he doesn't shun away from those who doubt.
Exactly, and doubt doesn't disqualify you.
That doubt doesn't disqualify you. The greatest doubters can often become the greatest advocates for faith.
And walk it through.
Walk it through. Don't hide it. Walk it through.
And just as you're walking through, walk by that subscribe button.
And ring the bell. Cheers.
Peace out.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, let's go. It's up the claw, guys.
It's my turn in the womb. What? Guys, That frosted tip thing. That was ridiculous. I can't
Fun,
believe.
right?
I can't believe you made us do that, man. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Good question, show.
Franco looked so
crazy
bad.
things, but I think
You look bad.
I know I look bad.
Okay,
man.
the
okay,
real Slim Shady.
All right,
Whatever, man.
all right,
It's
all
about
right.
50 cent look. Leave me alone.
But guys, actually, because we're so close to 900 subscribers now,
So
So close to 900.
So
We're so
great.
close.
we should really do something to celebrate.
We
that.
should do
We
something
should
to
definitely
celebrate.
celebrate. Like,
Yeah.
guys, we should solidly.
I know exactly what
Like,
we
we
should
should-
do.
What?
What do you want?
We should dye your eyebrows a color they want and dye your beard a color they want.
Listen, we're not. No, that's cute, guys. We can't die twice.
Cute joke, right?
I can't wait!
It just needs a little shaping. To the salon.